and standing in this hallway in a school with a bunch of rock and roll guys and everybody looking pretty rocked out. And the teacher walked by, this little dynamo of a drama teacher walked by. She turned around and did a double take, looked at us, and walked up to us and said, "You should come audition for West Side Story tonight. You look perfect for the gang members." So we thought, well, that'd be kind of funny, you know. Isn't that the play about the fighting on stage and, you know, they're rumbling and, you know, the gangs are beating each other up and that kind of thing. So we thought it'd be funny. So we went and hung out outside the audition, and I saw all these girls going into the audition, and I thought, well, I'm going in there. That looks good.
So you were a musician. You had a high school garage band. Grand Funk Railroad, I think you say in the Lt.Dan movie, was your inspiration?
One of them, I mean, Jimi Hendrix was one, and the Who and the Led Zeppelin. It kind of dates me, I guess, doesn't it?
But, yeah, it does, but that's okay.
That's who I was listening to back then.
Well, the reason I bring that up is when Chemo, who eats up the camera, he is very charismatic. He's your guitar player, and your, I don't know, was he the inspiration with you of the band?
He's a co-founder with me of the band. We became friends years ago when I was doing a play at my theater, Steppenwolf in Chicago, and he wrote the music for it, and we just started playing together. And we would do it for fun. When I came into town, we'd just play. I'd call him up and say, "Hey, I'm in Chicago. Why don't we get together with some guys and play?" And we would just do it for fun. And then I started, after September 11th, I started visiting our troops overseas, and I would shake hands and take pictures and sign autographs and that kind of thing. And I kept telling the USO folks, "Hey, why don't you let me take my musician pals with me?" And so eventually, after 5 or 6 handshake tours, they let me schlep the musicians around. And prior to bringing the band, I had been visiting the troops, and they were all calling me Lieutenant Dan when I'm out there. You know, most of them didn't recognize me as Gary Sinise. They did from the character in the movie. So when we started, when I started bringing the musicians with me, we needed a name, and so I said, let's go with Lt.Dan Band, and that's how it stuck.
Gary Sinise, my wife asked me, and it immediately occurred to me, it's the question most people, this looked like hard work. And you know, you got these musicians like Chemo and Danny and Beth, the great drummers from Orlando, and I'll bring up a few of them in the course of this interview. Are they used to touring the way that, I mean, the USO sending you in on cargo planes and you're doing corkscrew landings in Baghdad airport? What was the reaction to all this?
Well, actually, the band has not been to Iraq. I've done the Iraq tours by myself. I've been on 4 or 5 tours to Iraq, handshake tours. But I did, for Thanksgiving 2009, I took the band to Afghanistan, so they did that. And they've been all over the world with me to bases in Germany and Italy and the Netherlands and Belgium and the UK and Guantanamo Bay and Korea, Okinawa, Singapore. Yeah, I mean, we've been all over the place. Only once to Afghanistan with the band. It's a very big band. There's, 13 people in the band, and then there's 4 support crews, so that's 17 people right there just with the band. So it's a pretty big show to schlep over to the war zone and everything. But when I did take them to Afghanistan, I think for me it was a return trip there, but for them it was first trip. And certainly Chemo, who's a Vietnam veteran, going back to a war zone for him was very meaningful, and to be able to play for the troops. And I think the band over the years has really fallen in love with this mission that I've been on to make sure that we do everything we can to show our appreciation and support to these people who are serving out there.
Now, Gary Sinise, in the film Lt.Dan Band, you kind of sound apologetic that it's a cover band, but I imagine that's what the troops want to hear. They want to hear the music that they know and being performed by you. And I mean, it's excellent music. I can't remember the name of your lead singer.
Well, we have several singers in the band. Jeff Vizane is one of them. Julie Ducek is another one. We have one who's in the movie who's no longer with the band, Gina Gonzalez, and there's just a wonderful group of musicians. It's a very big band. And very, I think they've just kind of fallen in love with this mission to get out there and do what we can. I mean, they're all professional musicians, so they perform, all over the place with other bands too. But I keep them very busy. I'm trying to do as much as I can both on military bases, playing for deployed troops and for families of deployed troops, and then also trying to raise money for various charities that are supporting.
I'm amazed you got to do Fort Leonard Wood, because basic training, they don't often let you break their basic training regime, do they, to let a concert come and get played?
Not often, but you know what? I've been doing it so much, and I'm in have very good relationships with the folks in the military, so I get to do a lot of very interesting things and play at a lot of interesting places. We do Great Lakes Naval Base every year too, and so the recruits get a break for about 2 hours, and they come out and go crazy, and then they take them back and beat them up some more.
Now, are you amazed to find yourself in the role of Bob Hope? I grew up watching Bob Hope at Christmas doing this tour, and you've got some clips in the Lt.Dan movie about Connie Stevens and Connie Francis, and you've got Raquel Welch.
Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens and Raquel Welch. Are you surprised to find yourself sort of doing that role now?
Well, you know what? You mentioned that we were a cover band, and the whole purpose is to do something enjoyable so that people have a good time. And I enjoy playing. This is kind of a kick for me, because I was able to not only get back to playing, which is something that I put on the shelf for many, many years, but I was able to do something with the playing that actually benefits some other people. I don't make any money on this band. It's really all charitable work. I basically, I pay my band members, and I donate the band to several times a year personally, or I bring in sponsors who will, support the band, the costs of what it takes to, produce the show and everything like that. So whatever charity I'm playing for can raise the most amount of money. I try to get those expenses covered as often as I can, so that I can go out there and raise money for good organizations that are doing good things out there. And yes, we are a cover band, but when you hear all these songs strung together and put together, it's a very high energy show, and I make sure that everybody leaves feeling great.
We come back from break. We'll continue.